Salawat. We'll be beginning the program with the recitation of Al-Hadith al-Kisa. Salawat. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أوذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه فتلعلع كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. اللهم صل على محمد. فما كانت علا صاعة وإذا بولده الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فما كانت على ساعة وإذا بولده الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فأذن الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذنوا لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فأقبل إن ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء فقال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملن جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بتراف الكساء وهما بيديها اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل البيت وقاستي وهامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا رب ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلوها وبنوها. سلام. فقال جبرائيل يا رب أتعزن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم صادصا؟ فقال الله نعم قد عزمت لك. فحابت العمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالطاهية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم. وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا آمن وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل ما أنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما للذين هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجي ما ذكر قبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل نحل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلا أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عزو الله فزنا وفاذا شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. اللهم على محمد وعلى محمد. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر قبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل نحل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله همهم ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عزو الله فزنا وسوءنا وكذلك شيطان فازوا وسوعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك بحق محمد وأنت المحمود وبحق علي وأنت الأعلى وبحق فاطمة وأنت الفاطر السماوات والأرض وبحق الحسن وأنت المحسن وبحق الحسين وأنت القدم الإحسان وبحق الأئمة تسعة الطاهرين من ذرية الحسين عليه السلام. اللهم صل على محمد. Now I would like to invite Brother Ali Raza for a salam. ابتدائے ازا ہے واویلا ابتدائے ازا ہے واویلا ماہ غمرونا ماہ ہے واویلا ماہ غمرونا ماہ ہے واویلا ہل رہی ہے زری زہرا کی ہل رہی ہے زری زہرا کی ہائے ماہ ازا ہے واویلا ہائے ماہ ازا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں لال زہرا کا اس مہینے میں لال زہرا کا ذبحہ پیاسا ہوا ہے واویلا ذبحہ پیاسا ہوا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں فاطمہ کا گھر اس مہینے میں فاطمہ کا گھر خاک میں مل گیا ہے واویلا خاک میں مل گیا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں نشابر کا اس مہینے میں نشابر کا ٹکڑے صحرا ہوا ہے واویلا ٹکڑے صحرا ہوا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں نوجواں اکبر اس مہینے میں نوجواں اکبر ہائے مارا گیا ہے واویلا ہائے مارا گیا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں چاند زہرا کا اس مہینے میں چاند زہرا کا خاک میں مل گیا ہے واویلا خاک میں مل گیا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں تیر سے رن میں اس مہینے میں تیر سے رن میں حلقے اصغر چھدا ہے واویلا حلقے اصغر چھدا ہے واویلا اس مہینے میں دست آدم اس مہینے میں دست آدم چادر فاطمہ ہے واویلا چادر فاطمہ ہے واویلا Now I would like to invite Brother Ibrahim from Marcia.
صلوات علی محمد وآل محمد. دل بطول کے اندر حسین رہتا ہے دل بطول کے اندر حسین رہتا ہے جہاں خدا ہے جہاں خدا ہے وہیں پر حسین رہتا ہے دل بطول کے اندر خدا تلک ہو رسائی ہر ایک بندے کی خدا تلک ہو رسائی ہر ایک بندے کی، اسی لیے تو زمین پر حسین رہتا ہے، دل بطول کے اندر. صلوات بھیجو ہمارے وہاں پر. میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. بنت علی نے مجھ کو چادر بنا لیا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. کرتے ہیں رشک مجھ پر کوثر کے بھی کنارے، زینب کے سر میں نے 2 سال ہیں گزارے. میرا ہر ایک ذرہ ہر ظلم کا گواہ ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. اکبر جوان قاسم غازی سے چاند تارے، زین العبان میری آغوش میں اتارے. یعنی لہو نبی کا مجھ میں ملا ہوا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. روتی ہوں یاد کر کے وہ بے کسی کا منظر، مولا چھپا رہے تھے مجھ میں وہ لاش اصغر. اس دن سے آج تک نہ مجھ کو سکون ملا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. شہدائے کربلا کے زخموں کو میں نے چوما، زہرا کی بیٹیوں کے قدموں کو میں نے چوما. اس واسطے ہی میری تاثیر میں شفا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. اکبر کی لاش پر جب شبیر جا رہے تھے، اٹھتے تھے بیٹھتے تھے اور لڑ کھڑا رہے تھے. منظر وہ اب بھی میری آنکھوں میں پھر رہا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں۔ اے زائرین مولا چلنا یہاں سنبھل کر، قرآن فاطمہ کا بکھرا ہوا ہے مجھے پر، نہ جانے کس جگہ پر کس کا لہو گرا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں۔ رتبہ میرا جدا ہے، توقیر تو بھی کر لے، آلے ابا کا ماتم جو شام میں گئی تھی اس بے ردا کا ماتم، ممنون ماتمی کی مخدومہ فاطمہ ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں۔ رتبہ میرا جدا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے۔ صلوات۔
Now I would like to invite Dr. Shiva to the member. Please recite aloud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغه مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خير المبشرين والمنذرين، شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا، سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد، ما صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين، الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dearest Mu'mineen, lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, and our dear children, the future of the Shia nation. You are a nation. That means that you are brothers of each other. And you are brothers of each other, you are friends of each other, you have many things in common that unite you. When you go to school, you make friends. And you make friends because the people in your class are your classmates. So what you have in common with them is that you happen to be in the same school, in the same classroom, and you're learning the same things together. This makes you classmates, and then some of them you will make friends because there are things you have in common with them. Like maybe there's some things that both of you like to play, some sports that you like, some teams that you like, and various entertainment that joins you. When you make friends in school, the common thing that you usually have that unites you is fun. You have fun together. So there's various things you like to do that you enjoy, and this becomes a common reason for your friendship. There's other reasons for friendship and stronger reasons for friendship. And nothing is stronger than the love of the Ahlul Bayt. That means that when you join together because you are lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, that means you are his friend because both of you love Mawla Ali. And you are his friend, and you are his, and you are his, all of you, friends of each other, brothers of each other, because all of you are lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. And that is the strongest bond because that is the bond that will stay with you forever. So it's very important to know when you make friends why they are your friends. Sometimes what happens is we end up in the wrong company. When we end up in the wrong company, they can deceive us. This is what happened to Hazrat Adam and Bibi Hawa. The first person that befriended them was actually their enemy. So sometimes who you think is a friend is actually an enemy coming in the guise of a friend. When Hazrat Adam and Bibi Hawa were in Jannat and they were enjoying the gardens of Jannat, eating what they wanted, relaxing, having a good time, then a person approached them, and this person was Shaitan. It was Iblis. Yes, he came in the form of a serpent, he came in other forms as well. Jinn are able to take different forms when they come before us. Sometimes in the form of a snake, sometimes in the form of an other animal, dog, wolf, and probably more scarier things as well. When they come in their original form, can be kind of scary. So he came to them in the form of a friend and said that I am your friend, I am your well-wisher, and I only want what's good for you. And he would, in the beginning, tell them things that showed that he was a good friend. Eventually, what happened? One day he said, if you don't eat from that tree, you can't stay here forever. And they said, but Allah told us we're not supposed to eat from that tree. So Allah had told them not to do something, but this person who was a friend was telling them to do that very thing. When this happened, what we see is that they said, no, no, Allah told us don't eat from it. And he says, but Allah told you not to eat from it because if you do, you will become an angel and then you will live in heaven forever. And so they didn't believe him at first. But then he took an oath and he said, I swear, I'm telling you the truth. I would never lie to you. I am your friend. But he deceived them. And when he deceived them, what happened? They ate from the tree. And then Allah said, you have disobeyed me. Now you will have to live on earth for a certain period of time, and then you can come back after you have passed a test. That means because they disobeyed, they had to come to the earth and give tests. And so now they came to the earth. And Shaitan also came with them. When Shaitan came with them, Shaitan had asked for certain powers. He had asked Allah for certain powers, and Allah said, okay. Even though Shaitan was an enemy, Shaitan was someone who defied and disobeyed Allah, Allah still gave him the powers because Allah knew that it doesn't matter what powers I give to Shaitan, the ones who believe in me will still believe in me. And part of the test will be this Shaitan now. One of the things Shaitan asked for was that I should have children with every child of Adam. That means there's one child of Iblis born with every child of Adam. And he tries to, that child will go with that person, that human being, and will always try to whisper to them and get them to disobey Allah. So this was one of the powers. The second power that Iblis got was that he would live forever, till Qiyamah anyway. So Allah said, you can live till the day that is set for you. He will be killed before Qiyamah, he will die before Qiyamah, Qiyamat, day of judgment, but that's going to happen after Zuhur. And then the third power that he got was that he was able to whisper into the minds of people. So he can whisper into your heart and you will hear something. Now it's up to you if you want to obey it or disobey it. Then what happened was the people that were living on earth, Hazrat Adam's children, they grew, many, many children. It went to, in 6 generations, there was over 100,000 people. So every generation, the children multiplied. Their children had children, their children had children. And at that time, you had lots of children. Everybody was having like 10 children. So if you have 10 children and each of them has 10 children, that's 100 children. And then 100 children each have 10 children, that's 1,000. And then in 6 generations, you easily reach 100,000. Now, the sixth generation from Hazrat Adam was Hazrat Idris alayhi salam. Hazrat Idris, spelled Idris, Idris, this was also a very famous prophet of Allah. In every generation, there was a prophet of Allah, and every father, every prophet delegated the next prophet. It may have been his son, or it may have been someone else. He would name the next prophet before he died. So Hazrat Idris was a very famous prophet who gave a lot of teachings about the book of Allah. That's why he was named Idris. They say he was named Idris because Idris comes from Dars, and Dars means to forward and propagate, to teach the book of Allah. Idris is said to be at a time where he lived in what is now called Kufa. You may have heard of the name Kufa. It is a city in Iraq. And it is also the place where Imam Ali alayhi salam, can we have a salawat? Umma salli ala. Where Imam Ali alayhi salam established his governorship when he was the Khalifa of Islam. And Kufa, there's many important places in Kufa. Idris was said to live in this place that is now called Masjid Sahla. Masjid Sahla is famous. Many of you have heard of it because it is connected to our Imam Zamana, Ajjalallahu Farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. MashaAllah. You guys are reciting beautiful salat today, nice, in unity, and with loud voices. This is a declaration of your iman and your love for the Ahlul Bayt. Now what happens is that Idris is living in that Masjid Sahla. It's a famous place because our Imam visits there every Shabi Jummah. Also, it is said that our Imam, after the Zuhur, will establish his home at Masjid Sahla. That is where some of the narrations say that our Imam will live after the Zuhur. So some people are trying to buy plots near there so they can be near the Imam at the time of the Zuhud. That's good planning, but more important than that is to be near to the Imam in your qalb. That means this is where nearness is very important. Living next to him is nice, but more important than that, being next to him here all the time. That means, is your Imam in your heart all the time? How many times in the day do you remember your Imam? Every day? Every week? Every 15th Shaban, once a year? We need to remember him every day. Does he remember us every day? Does he do dua for us every day? He protects us every day. He nourishes us and gives us rizq every day. He protects our parents so they can take care of us every day. That means the most important thing we can do for our Imam is to always remember him. Because when you love somebody, then they're always in your heart. When you love somebody and they're not there, then you're always looking for them. Your eyes always want to know, where is he? How much do you talk to your Imam? Your Imam has said, talk to me. When you are lying in bed at the end of your day and there is no one else, it is just you, that is a good time. Whenever you're alone, talk to your Imam. Ask him how he's doing. Ask him if he's okay. Ask him if he's lonely. Ask him when is he coming. Tell him you are waiting for him. When you do these things, your Imam will always reply to you. You may not hear the reply in the form of a sound, but he will reply to you in the form of a revelation in your heart. This is what we call ilham. Your Imam communicates with you all the time. He guides you all the time. Now, Idris is said to be teaching, and also he is said to be the first one who taught the people how to stitch clothes. That means before that they had clothing, but it wasn't stitched properly. He taught people how to take cotton and how to turn it into thread and how to put the threads together and how to actually stitch clothes. He also, so this was the sixth generation. By the sixth generation after Hazrat Adam, although at that time people lived for longer, it may have been because at that time their food was better, the health was better, the environment was cleaner, there wasn't as much digital devices and Wi-Fi everywhere. The food didn't have artificial colors and preservatives and toxins and GMO, genetically modified food. It was very organic and healthy. And so people lived easily for hundreds of years at that time. Hazrat Adam lived for about 900 years, his son about the same. So we see that lifespan slowly decreased over the centuries. It is said they were much taller at that time as well, much, much taller than we are now. It seems like the height got less. Although when we migrated to Canada, I see the kids are getting taller now. So all kids growing up in Canada tend to be, many, not always, not that important your height, more important is your heart, but we see that they're growing taller. Maybe it's because they play more sports, or maybe it's because there's a lot of growth hormone in the food now. I don't know what's going on. But we see that Hazrat Idris taught them also to write with a pen on a paper. So this is where we see pen and paper started, and Hazrat Idris and his community knew how to read and write. And they used paper, they learned how to make pencils out of wood, how to make pigments out of plants and colors so they could use that as ink, dip it in the ink and write with it. Have you ever written with that? With one of those feathers dipped in ink and then write with it? No? You guys are typers, you type all the time, everything is typed now. Or are you like this? No? Pen and paper? You still use pencil? Very good. Psychologists say that when you're developing, there is a sense you develop of words when you write with your hand. Writing with your hand is one of the best ways to learn things. So when we write notes with our hands, that's how we learn. Do you like to take notes on paper whenever you study something? Very good. It helps you to remember. When you want to remember things in school, then you should read. That's one input. You should also say it. That means you should repeat it so that you hear yourself saying it. That's the second input. Then you should also write with your hand. That becomes the third way. And then you should always use that phrase. What is that beautiful holy phrase that helps you to remember things? Anybody know? Not sure? Okay, let me repeat it. I try to say this as much as I can. It's very important for students. Yes? In the back there, somebody? Okay, one time a man came to our Imam, Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, as-salatu was-salamu alayhi. Ma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And the man said to our Imam, why are humans called humans? But he used the Arabic word. What is the Arabic word for human? We say, very good, mashallah, insan. And this insan, he said, why are insan called insan? There must be a reason for it. And he said, insan, our Imam said, insan comes from nas. Noon, seen, nas. And nas means to forget. So he said that insan are those that are forgetful. And then when the Imam said this, the man said that why did Allah make us to forget? Because if we didn't have this name, then maybe we would never forget anything. Maybe you would have a photographic memory. The Imam said that he made you to forget, but he also gave you a way to remember. And the man said, what is the way to remember, O Imam? The Imam said the way to remember is the key that opens the doorway to your memory. And he said, what is the key called? And the Imam said the key is Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Let's have another salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Now, you won't forget it this time, so if I ask you again at some point, you will tell me. This means that whenever you recite salawat, you will remember. Whatever you are trying to remember will come back to you. That seems pretty useful to me. If I'm studying for a test and I'm afraid I'm not going to remember this, I can recite salawat. Then when I'm writing the test, and as I'm writing it, I'm trying to remember, wait a minute, what was that thing that I I'm forgetting right now. Again, if I recite a salawat. Now, maybe you don't have to say it super loud because you're in the class and other people are writing tests, and it might seem a little weird if you're sitting there writing a test, Allahumma salli ala. But even if you whisper it or say it in your heart, although if you say it out loud, that's probably good for everybody, they'll all remember, but still, just say it for yourself, and that way you will remember. This is the Imam's promise. So, how important is that? Is that not a secret for us that's very useful? As long as you're studying and remembering things, always recite salawat. There is also a surah of the Quran that has 19 verses. And if you can memorize this surah, then that will improve your memory. It will turn your memory from being 1 gigabyte to 100 terabytes. Wow, that's a lot, right? That's good. I think 100 terabytes is good for me. 100 terabyte memory. And what surah is that? That is called Suratul A'la. Suratul A'la. You remember that name? And you'll start memorizing it. Memorize one verse every day. In 19 days, you'll have it memorized. When your school sessions start next fall, you'll be ready. You'll be armed with salawat and Suratul A'la, which will be your defense and your memory boosters. It'll give you the ultimate USB stick of 100 terabytes, and then you'll never forget anything that you learn. So now we see that Hazrat Idris is preaching to the people. There was like thousands of people are in that area around Kufa and Iraq, and that is where many people settled initially. That's where they found ancient civilizations of Sumeria, for example. So what we see is that out of the thousands of people, only 20 people are following Hazrat Idris. He has 20 followers out of thousands. No one else believes in Allah. Who do they believe in? They worship the king. At that time, kings would make themselves gods. Now they're smarter. Now they don't make themselves gods. They present other gods to you, and they try to deceive the people in other ways. Now they keep us busy with non religion. Now they try to say there is no God. At that time, the king would be the God. And he would say, if you don't believe in me, then I will have that person killed. It is said that in Hazrat Idris's time, there was a king. And he used to go on his horse and all of his entourage, all the people, and they would roam around the lands hunting. One time he passed by a beautiful garden. When he saw the beautiful garden, he wanted it. Have you ever seen something and wanted it? Right. So have I. We all have. We see a game, we see a device, we see a toy, we see something we can wear, something we can eat, something we can use, and we want it. So the king wanted it. What do you do when you see something and you want it? Well, what the king did was he said, I want this. Call the owner. The owner was called. The owner was a believer. So he did not he didn't follow the king's religion. He didn't believe in the king. He believed in Allah. He believed in the teachings of Hazrat Idris. So he wasn't scared of the king. Anybody else would have been scared. But he was a believer. The king said, I want to buy your land. He said, I don't want to sell it. The king said, I need this land. He said that this is my food. This is where I get food from. My children need it more than you need it. You don't need it. I'm not selling it to you. The king became very angry. No one had ever refused this king. So he went back home and he was walking in his palace back and forth with his face red with anger. His wife came to him. His wife wasn't such a nice lady. She was a little bit, let's say, evil. And when she heard what the king said, and she said, why are you so angry? He said, this man refused to sell me his garden. I wanted it. It was a beautiful garden. And then she said, so, you're king. What difference does it make if you said no? Take it anyway. He said, no, I can't take it just like that. I need to have some kind of reason for it. She said, I'll give you a reason. She said, I'll call my tribe's people. And the people from a tribe were famous for lying. They would lie about anything if you paid them. Give them some money and they'll lie for you. So she said, I'll call the people of my tribe. They will say that he doesn't believe in you and he believes in something else and he follows a different religion. And then you can punish them by killing him, and then you can take his home. The king liked this idea. He said, that's a good idea. So then what happened was 40 people from a tribe came and they testified and they said, we bear witness that this guy is a disbeliever. He does not believe in the king as God, and he believes in the teachings of Idris, and therefore he should be killed. The king had him killed and took his home. His children starved and they also perished. Yes, that is sad. They were believers. Allah was very angry. Allah said that I will punish this king and these disbelievers. At that time, Hazrat Idris, when he heard about this, he basically went to Allah and prayed to him, and Allah said to Idris, go to the king and tell the king that what he has done is wrong, and I am going to punish him and his wife, and they will perish. Now, no one goes and says that to a king. But Idris went to the king and went into his palace and said, I am Idris, messenger of Allah, and I am bringing you a message from my Lord. And my Lord has said that what you have done is very evil, and he will punish you severely for this, and your kingdom will be destroyed. Your kingship will be gone. When he said this, the king got very angry. When the king got very angry, he said that go and kill Idris. Idris left by then, he had already gone, and the king sent people after him. When Idris went to where his followers used to hang out, his followers came to Idris and said, the king has sent soldiers after you. They want to kill you. Hazrat Idris said to his followers, I want you to go into hiding. Go and spread out and go into hiding. And I too will go and live in that hill. Idris went away to live on a hill. They never found him. They didn't find his followers either. At that time, Idris prayed to Allah. And he said to Allah, O Allah, I pray to you, do not send rain upon this land until I do dua and ask you for rain. Allah said that if we do this, they will suffer. They will not get food. And Idris said, yes, Allah, but it is my desire, and this is my dua. Allah said that I am merciful upon my creation, but because my prophet is doing this dua, then I will hold the rain. And Allah, that is the power of the prophet. A prophet has great power. But you see, Hazrat Idris was not the greatest prophet. The greatest prophet is the last prophet. That is why the last prophet never did dua upon his nation, no matter how much hardship they put the prophet in. They put him through much more hardship than Hazrat Idris, but he was always patient. Imam Hussein is the grandson of the greatest prophet. Even in Karbala, you do not see Imam Hussein doing any dua at that time. You only see him praying to Allah. This shows you they did not use their power to destroy the nation. They could have, but Idris did. Can we have a salawat, please? And then what happens is, after that, we see that Idris is living in the mountains. And as he's living in the mountains, what happens is every day an angel brings him food. He fasts all day, breaks his fast at night. The angel gives him food, and then he worships Allah all night. The next day he fasts again. 1 year, 2 years, 20 years pass. For 20 years, Hazrat Idris is living in one cave in that mountain and fasting every day. I find it hard to fast for 30 days. Say that again? Not eating food for many months. Who? Hazrat Idris. Hazrat Idris was getting food. An angel would bring food for him from heaven every day. You know how like you can order food from Uber? Right? Uber Eats. You can get pizza delivery. This was delivery of food from heaven. But this was an angel bringing food from heaven for Hazrat Idris. So he would every day break his fast with food, And then he would sleep and pray and fast all day. And he did past 20 years like this. For 20 years, not a drop of rain came into that land. Not a drop of rain came into the land where Idris had fled from. And they had very little food. So they were getting hungrier and hungrier. Now, Allah wanted Hazrat Idris to do dua, but Hazrat Idris had not done dua for rain yet. And Allah had promised Hazrat Idris that it will only rain when you do dua. So then one day what happened is Hazrat Idris one day didn't get food. The angel didn't come, but he fasted. Night came. He prayed all night. The next day food still didn't come. He fasted again. On the third day, when food didn't come, now Hazrat Idris started to get hungry and he complained. You see, the greatest prophet is the last prophet. His family fasted for 3 days as well, but they did not complain to Allah. In fact, when they had food, they fasted the first day. Imam Ali, Bibi Zahra, even Bibi Fizza was fasting with them, even Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, their children, and it is said that they all fasted. And the food they were about to eat, someone came and knocked on the door, and they gave them the food. They didn't eat. The next day they fasted again. Again, Bibi prepared food. When Bibi Zahra prepared the food, it is said that someone came and knocked on the door again, and they asked for food. The second day they gave them food. The third day they gave them food. And that is why Quran verses were revealed about this holy family. That is why this family is very special. Hazrat Idris is a great prophet, but they do not compare to the last prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. Then what happens is we see Hazrat Idris on the third day, he speaks to Allah and says, "Oh Allah, it's been 3 days, I haven't had any food. Aren't you going to give me something? I need sustenance. I'm very hungry." And Allah says, "Oh Idris, have you not thought about my creation? The ones whom you have withheld rain from, they are hungrier than you, and they have been hungry like this for years." So Hazrat Idris felt bad, and he went out to see how the people were, and he also went to search for food. When he was out looking for food, he came upon one home. Inside the home was a lady and her son. The son was very small, like your age. And the son and lady were about to have food. She had just made 2 chapatis. You know chapati? Roti, right? Yeah, she just made 2 rotis. And one roti was for her, one was for her son. They sat down to eat, and Hazrat Idris knocks on the door. He says, "I'm very hungry. Do you have any food for me?" She says, "I only have 2 rotis. One for me, one for my son. If I don't eat, then I could die. I'm so hungry. If he doesn't eat, he could die. We don't have any food to give you." Hazrat Idris looks at them and says, "Well, your son is young. Maybe he can survive with half, and I'll just eat half. It'll give me enough energy to go and look for some more food." So she says, "Okay." She breaks half the roti and gives it to Idris and the other half to her son. When her son sees this, her son gets very upset. He gets so upset, he cries so much that he passes away. He dies right there. The woman is so sad. She says, "Look what you did to my son." Hazrat Idris says, "Do not worry." He comes and he prays to Allah. Then he puts his hands on the shoulders of the boy, on his body, and says that, "O soul that has left this boy, come back into it. I beseech you, I am Idris, the messenger of Allah." As soon as he says this, the boy wakes up again, comes back to life. The woman realizes this is Hazrat Idris. And so she says, "Idris is back and we are saved." Because they knew that it was Hazrat Idris's curse that had caused the people to go hungry for so long. And then what happens is she goes and tells everybody. Now everybody knows that Hazrat Idris is back. They all come and the whole nation comes in front of Hazrat Idris and says, "Please pray for rain." Hazrat Idris says, "I will not pray for rain until the evil king and his people come walking to me barefoot. And they ask me." So when they go and tell the king says, "Okay, I'll send somebody." He sends 40 soldiers to kill Hazrat Idris. So they come to kill Hazrat Idris. Hazrat Idris raises his hands for bad dua, and all 40 perish. They die right there. And then the king finds out, he sends another 500. Now, when he sends 500, the 500 soldiers come. Hazrat Idris looks at them and says, "Do you not see what happened to these soldiers? Are you sure you want to come and try and fight me?" And then they go back to the king, and then they tell him, "Look what happened to them, we have to go." So the king comes forward, barefoot, with all of his community, and they all come to Hazrat Idris. And they say, "Oh Idris, please pray to Allah, pray to your Allah for rain." At that time, Hazrat Idris prays to Allah for rain, and it is said that rain comes down, and so much rain came, they thought they were going to drown. They all went into their homes, and after that, they had everything that they needed. So, in this story, we see a few things. And one of the important things to remember is, especially with the story of Bibi Hawwa and Hazrat Adam, salamu alayhuma, we see that jealousy and insecurity is very bad. You know what insecurity is? When you start to think that you don't have value. You see, Shaitan convinced them they won't have value until they eat from the tree. He will convince us that we don't have value until we disobey. Have you noticed that's what peer pressure can be when we're with the wrong type of crowd? The wrong type of crowd is going to convince us until you come and do this, you're not cool. You won't be popular. We're not going to like you. In other words, they may cause you to disobey Allah to be their friends. But that is not a true friend. A true friend is one who causes you to obey Allah. So when we see something like the evil king saw in the time of Hazrat Idris, what should we do if we want it? We should never be jealous of somebody else. Jealousy means that you have something and I look at you and I say, "Oh, you have it and I don't have it." And then I get angry. How come I don't have it? How come this person has it? At that time, really, I'm being angry with Allah. In a way, I'm complaining and saying, "Allah, why did you give that to them, but you didn't give it to me? How come he gets this and I don't get this?" Instead of doing that, what should we do? That's a good idea. Ask. Ask Allah. So tell Allah, "Oh Allah, you blessed people with this thing. Would you bless me with it as well?" If you ask Allah directly instead of complaining about it, then you'll get it. That means we have to do shukr. When we are thankful for everything that we have, that is when Allah gives us more. Do we wake up in the morning and give thanks? How many things do you have to be thankful for? Can you make a list? Tell me. You can't be thankful for everything. That's true. That's true. But do you have things you can be thankful for? Yes. What? Read Quran. Very good. What would you be thankful for? Parents. Beautiful. Yes. Your health. A house. Transport. Food. Imam. Wow. Beautiful. For having imams. Amazing. For having everything you have. Hair on your head. You can be thankful for that. Because, like me, maybe, hopefully, you don't lose it. Eyebrows, nose, lips, ears, eyes, tongue, heart, muscles, bones, speed, energy, everything you can do and everything you can think. All of that you should be thankful for. Do you know why we do matam? We do matam because matam is an expression of grief. That means that when we express our grief, we do matam. Now, one way to express your grief is sad face. Another way, shed tears. Another way, to cry out loud. Another way, beat your chest. And there's many other forms of matam as well. They are all ways of grief. They express our grief, number one. And number two, what they do is they show how sad we are. And matam may sometimes cause you to feel pain. And that is telling you that our Imam felt pain, so we also want to feel that pain. So that is why people do matam, because sharing in that pain is a form of showing your love for the Imam. When we read a Noha today, in a few minutes, I was wondering if there's something we could do. I noticed yesterday during the matam, we were doing matam. It was not as one nation though. You know how a nation does matam? You all stand in one line and then in another line, and you all face each other and you do matam in the same way. That is how we become a strong, unified nation, and that is how we prepare for the coming of our Imam. So I'd like to see us stand like that today. We- Hazrat Hur, it is said, was very, very anxious on the night of Shab Ashur because he was the one who had stopped Imam Hussein's army from moving anywhere else, and he was also the one who had stopped the water then from reaching Imam Hussein because Yazid had ordered it, but he did not like following that order, and he was feeling very bad. And he could hear the cries of the little children of Imam Hussein. His tent was near the tent of Imam Hussein, the closest from Yazid's army. He could hear the little children crying for water, crying in pain, crying from thirst. And he was walking back and forth worried, and he wanted to come and he wanted to give his apology and beg Imam Hussein for forgiveness. And he wanted to come onto Imam Hussein's side. And he wanted to say, I no longer want to be on the wrong side. It is said that at that time he left. When his brother and son saw him leaving, they said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Hussein. I can no longer be in Yazid's army. I can no longer stay on the wrong side. And then they said, we will come with you. So they all left together. As they left the tent, Hur was saying to his brother and his son that I have caused great hardship to the family of the Prophet. I do not know if Hussein will forgive me or not, but I will go and put myself before him. He said, tie my hands as I am a criminal. And he said, blindfold me as I want to submit. And then blindfolded and with his hands tied, his brother and son led him to Imam Hussein. He could not see anything, but as he neared the tent of Imam Hussein, his brother said, Allahu Akbar. And Hur said, what is it? Why do you say that? He said, I can see that Hazrat Abbas is coming towards you. And then again he said, Allahu Akbar. He said, why do you say this? He said, now I can see Ali Akbar coming as well to meet you. And then the third time he heard an Allahu Akbar. And he said, what is it? He said, what is it now? And Hazrat Hur was told that Imam Hussein is coming. It is said that Imam Hussein came, he undid the rope around his wrists and took off the blindfold. And he gave Hazrat Hur a big hug. And as he hugged him to his chest, Hazrat Hur fell at the feet of Imam Hussein and said, I am not worthy, for I have made a grievous mistake. Oh Hussein, is there any possibility that I can ever be forgiven? And he stood him up and said, Oh Hur, you are my brother, and you should know, of course you are forgiven. He said, Hussein only cries because when you came as my enemy, I gave you water. But now you come as my friend and my brother, and I have nothing to give you. It is said that when Hazrat Hur was martyred, he was the first to go and fight. And when he was martyred and he was dying and his head was upon the lap of Imam Hussein, he looked at Imam Hussein and he said, how will I be forgiven? How will I face your mother on the day of judgment? How will I face the Holy Prophet? It is said that Imam Hussein took out a handkerchief from his pocket and he tied it around the wound that was on Hazrat Hur's forehead. And as he tied it, he said, Oh Hur, you should know this is the handkerchief of my mother, Bibi Zahra. فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين. ماتم حسین.
Now I would like to invite Brother Ali Haider for Noha. Can you hold it? Or should I hold it for you? You hold it.
تائبانوں کا بیاں کس کو دوں اب لوریاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں تائبانوں کا بیاں کس کو دوں اب لوریاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں تیرا جھولا جل گیا اے میرے تشنا دہاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں تائبانوں کا بیاں کس کو دوں اب لوریاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں خوب بھرا کرتا تیرا ہائے وہ بھی چھن گیا اب جیوں کس کے سہارے پاس میرے کیا رہا زندگی ہے رائے گا عمر بھر ہوں نوح خان ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں تائبانوں کا بیاں کس کو دوں اب لوریاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں
Now I would like to invite Wajib for another Noha. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Abbas, Bawafa, Ya Abbas, Bawafa, Ya Abbas, 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 Abbas. محفوظ قافلہ ہے عباس جو زندہ ہے محفوظ قافلہ ہے عباس جو زندہ ہے ابھی دور کربلا ہے ابھی دور کربلا ہے ابھی دور کربلا ہے عباس جو زندہ ہے عباس جو زندہ ہے اس نوری کارواں میں نوری اماریاں ہیں نوری اماریوں میں نوری سواریاں ہیں سر پر علم کھلا ہے عباس جو زندہ ہے، عباس جو زندہ ہے، نام ہے راموں کا مجمع ہٹ ہٹ کے ہے گزرتا، پیروں میں باوفا کے طے ہو رہا ہے رستہ، طے ہو رہا ہے رستہ، کیا شان و دبدبا ہے عباس جو زندہ ہے، ابھی دور کربلا ہے، ابھی دور کربلا ہے، ابھی دور کربلا ہے، عباس جو زندہ ہے، عباس جو زندہ ہے، عباس جیسا بھائی سالار کارواں ہے، بولے حسین مجھ کو پھر کوئی ہم کہاں ہے، پھر کوئی ہم کہاں ہے، ہر غم کی یہ دوا ہے عباس جو زندہ ہے، ابھی دور کربلا ہے، ابھی دور کربلا ہے، ابھی دور کربلا ہے، عباس جو زندہ ہے، عباس جو زندہ ہے، عباس جو زندہ ہے، یا حسین، یا حسین. Now we'll be doing زيارة. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن علي أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا ابن حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا ابن حسين الشهيد، السلام عليك إمام زين العابدين ومحمد الباقر وجعفر الصادق وموسى الكاظم وعلي الرضا ومحمد تقي وعلي النقي والحسن العسكري. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، ألمان من فتنة الزمان، أجل الله تعالى مخرجا وزهورا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.